Yeah, obviously the bull case scenario is that they do get recertified in September, October. The plane starts flying in the fourth quarter. Then all these planes that are parked all over the Boeing facilities start to move out, and we start to book revenues on those. That's the bull case scenario. Obviously, Dennis Muhlenberg today gave us an option that is a bear case scenario, in that they halt production, and that throws out all of that stuff out the window. We don't think that's going to happen. We think that Boeing has been working very closely with the FAA, and that certification is probably going to happen along their timeline sometime in the fourth quarter, and so we are sticking with our buy on the stock.
At what point should investors get concerned about the domino impact of focusing all the attention on the 737 MAX and getting it back up in the air? And granted, that is the cash cow for Boeing, which basically funds all of the other programs. But for instance, the development of the mid-market plane, does that get pushed out at this point in time? And does that get pushed out even more if they don't hit that fourth quarter back in the air timeframe?
Yeah, I think we would become more concerned if we start to hear some grumblings from the FAA that Boeing is not ready, that they're not happy with the way things are going, that maybe they're not going to recertify. And that does put much more likely a scenario that the company does have to halt production. Boeing is devoting probably 100% of its mental capital right now on the 737. They have no bandwidth to talk about the new market plane right now. So, yeah, things are going to be pushed out if we don't get things moving pretty soon.
Let me ask you sort of a compound question. What is the reputational damage that Boeing has suffered? And is this or is this not, in some ways, by some measures, the most expensive product recall in the history of American business? They've already marked $5 billion to compensate airlines. Their revenues were down $9 billion from where they were a year ago, and their stock price is down 20%. That sounds very, very costly. So what's the financial damage here? Is it the biggest ever? And what's the reputational damage?
Well, let's keep in mind that if the plane does start flying again, these are all orders that have been booked that have not been booked into revenues because they haven't been able to deliver the planes. So those revenues are delayed. They're not canceled. So that's a 2020 story. If we do get the plane flying again, a lot of those revenues do come back into the picture. There's very little lost revenues. There's very little canceled orders on Boeing's book right now. Of course, as to the first part of your question, Boeing's reputation, that's what's at stake right now. It's to be determined. If they are able to relaunch this plane, and it's, as they say, the safest plane to ever fly once they bring it back into service, then their reputation can be preserved. They are battling for their very existence, for their very reputation right now.